So you guys will need possibly, well, a couple of blocks, but I'll give you some options. If you don't have 2 blocks, and these are 2 of the 4-inch blocks, but if you don't have those, I'll give you another option. And a strap, which you can use a towel. You might not need the strap at all, but you can use a towel. You can use a scarf or a belt as well. So whatever you have that might work for that. This is really for the first pose, and then you'll use them later, possibly. So you could take a blanket or a nice firm blanket and just, I'll back it up here, roll it up like so. Roll it up like so. Another thing that works instead of a blanket, because it's nice and firm, is a second yoga mat. So if you have a second yoga mat, this works really nicely for that. And then you just lay it on your mat. And then we're going to lay your spine down right on your blanket. You want the head supported, so you want to make sure it's long enough. And if it's not, throw a blanket or a pillow at the top. But if you don't, if you have that, use that. If you have 2 blocks, we're going to lay one long. We're going to lay the other one on its tallest setting here, so that this is where your head will go. This is where your back goes. And we're going right below the shoulder blades with the bottom edge of the block. And you're kind of just feeling it out. And we're going to get settled here. So it's just like any other thing. You go in to do yoga and it's all frenzied to get in. If you go to a studio, you're like running to get there. You're cussing at the traffic. You're trying to sign up for a class and you can't get in, and it's all annoying. And then you just kind of got to get settled. So this is our chance to kind of let it all go. And you can have your arms down by your sides. And then open the arms up to the sides a little bit to open the chest a little bit more. And just take a few deep breaths. So today's practice is going to be a morning yin. So the idea is that we want to settle into our skin, get centered and relaxed, but also alert and awake. So we don't want to be ready to go to bed. We want to be calm, but also ready for the day. So see if you can soften the shoulders a little bit more. And then pull your focus away from your thoughts. Let them chatter. And then put the focus on your breath. And just bring your breath into the chest. So as you breathe, expand the rib cage out to the sides. Just a few more breaths right here. Good. And then from here, on whatever props we're on, we're just going to come off of the blocks and onto our side. Just come onto your side. Move the blocks out of the way. I'm going to use them in a little bit, maybe. Take a couple of breaths here. So coming into a pose is just as important as coming out of one. Good. Pressing up to a seated position. We're going to sit up nice and tall. Good. So we're going to take your right leg out to the right. And just feel the hips. So we're just going to make sure that we're moving the hips a little bit before we fold forward. So just roll the hips back and forward, back and forward. And we want the hips to tilt forward. Now, if they don't tilt forward, if you're really rounding, take a blanket and just put it right under your hips, like so. And it will help you get that tilt forward. And then we're going to fold. So you can just fold right in between the knees here. And then if you want to rest your head, but the floor is very far away, you could take your block and you could set it at any height to help you rest your head. If you don't have anything like that, you could also use your fists. And if your block is not high enough, you can stack anything you need to make that possible. And then when you're doing a pose, just notice where you feel it. So a lot of times, if it's really intense, we tend to grit our teeth and just really try to power through. Notice where you feel it and maybe even back off just a hair. If it's really intense, back off just a little bit. So you can relax into the pose. Slowly coming up. Nice. So we can just switch sides nice and slow. So the other leg is straight. Knees are bent. We're going to fold in between. Blanket under the hips. We can roll those hips back and forward just so we know where that movement is coming from. Forward fold needs your hips to be involved. And then notice on this side, maybe you feel it in the exact same place, just on the other side. Maybe you feel it just slightly different. Just notice where you feel it and try to soften those shoulders, soften the hips, and soften the area that you feel the most intensity. Staying focused on the breath. And slowly coming up. Nice. Good. Bending into both knees. Gonna move that blanket out of the way. Let's come on to the hands and knees. And we're just going to come forward onto the belly. And let's start by stacking the arms and just resting the forehead on your arms. Softening all the little muscles around your spine. Good. And then we're going to bring the elbows underneath your shoulders. So you want them right underneath. I touch my elbows to check to make sure that they're not too wide. And you want a straight line from the shoulder to the elbow. Palms are down. You could interlace your fingers as well. And you can take a block and rest your head if you find it's very difficult to soften into your shoulders. Because sometimes it can be. And we're just thinking about the chest sinking forward. You can also keep your head in line with the rest of your spine and just open the space between the shoulder blades and try to still keep the shoulders down. It's a little more work. You're still trying to keep the back of the neck long. You want to not lead with the chin, lead with the chest. So if your forehead is on the block, you can stay there and just really soften into that pose because you're going for what you need. If you want a little more energy this morning, we're going to still be very yinish. We're going to bring the hands a little wider to the corners of your mat. Bring your elbows out. Now we're still softening into the back and you're listening to your back. So no back pain. We're just listening to the spine and we're going to slowly lift those elbows up. So we're coming into like a seal posture. We'll just hold for a couple of breaths. And then lower down. I'm going to do it a couple of times. So you can always stay here. You can always stay with the block on your forehead. You can stay there. Do what you need. This is your practice. You're the one that has to walk around with you the rest of the day. I don't. So do what's best for you. So we're going to really relax the shoulders. Let the chest come forward. So as you press the chest forward here, you feel some of the compression in your back come out of your lower back. That's how you know you've taken a little out of the low back. And then we're going to press into the hands, keep pressing that chest forward as we lift. Good, legs are soft. Shoulders relaxed. Good, lower down. And we're going to just do that one more time. Softening the chest forward. Maybe pull your belly in a little bit this time. Really pull those shoulders down. Lift the chest, lift the elbows, breathe. Let the heart soften forward. One more breath. Coming all the way back down. Stack the arms. If you have the block in front of you, set it aside. Coming all the way down. Softening all the little muscles around your spine. Good. Now let's press up to table. Let's press back to child's pose. Good. Knees apart, big toes together. Maybe stack your hands. Let the shoulders be open. And just stay here. Let the low back soften. And maybe as you breathe, you can direct the breath to the lowest part of your belly and feel your low back expand with your breath. So we're helping soften it from the inside. Good. Now we're going to come up to table. come to seated. Let's make sure you have your strap handy if you're going to use it and a block. We're going to come onto our back. Good. So we're just relaxing here for a moment, knees together, feet apart, hands to the belly. So we moved all the way around in our morning yin here just to keep us alert. We want to be alert in the morning. So we move the body a little just to stay in the present moment. Do one more little back bend here. We're going to take the block, lift the hips up, and set the block underneath. And keep your knees bent here, or you can straighten into your legs. You do what feels right for your body. Back bends energize you. So using a back bend even really slow or even in a position like this helps keep you alert. Two more breaths. Bend into the knees. Lift the hips off of the block, set it aside. Now we're going to hug both knees into the chest. And then bring the knees over to the right side. Let's do the right side. So bring the knees over to the right. So this is where your strap could be useful. So we're in a twist, so you could stay in the twist. You can take your top knee, point it toward the bottom of your mat, take your hand and grab your foot. So this is called cat grabbing its tail. Now, if you cannot grab your foot, you can use your strap. We're doing kind of a different version of it, so it's usually a little easier to grab that foot. So we're getting into your quad. Breathe. Nice. And then we're going to release. Bring that knee forward. Let's bring both knees up to center. Hug them in. And let's bring the knees over to the other side. And then we're going to take that top knee, point it to the bottom of your mat. Grab onto the foot with your hand, if you can reach it, or use a strap. If it bothers your knees, just stay in the twist. This is nice for the hip flexor, the quad, the shoulder. One more long, deep breath here. Bring that knee forward, stacking the knees. Bring both knees up to center. Squeeze them in, rock a little bit. And lower the feet down, straighten into the legs. Arms are down by your sides. Stay focused on the breath. Finding our center. Bend into the knees. Let's roll onto one side of your body and rest. Pressing up to a seated position. Hands on the knees. Just take a moment to settle into your body. The sun is a daily reminder that we too can rise from the darkness, that we too can shine our own light. Thank you all for sharing your practice with me this morning. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.